from the heart, the Artistry of Living. I'm Suzy Vance, and I'm here with Cheryl Chapman, who wears a number of different hats, but this time is here to talk about the Naomi Anderson project. So Cheryl, who is Naomi Anderson?
She's our hero, our shero. Naomi Anderson was born here in Michigan City in 1843.
Ooh, long time ago.
So pioneer times. There were about 3,000 people in the town and only 2 African American families, and hers was indeed a free African American family. Her mother had come from one of the eastern states, we think maybe Delaware or something, and Naomi herself spoke about having not only African but also Dutch, Irish, and possibly Cherokee, a Native American background. And she said, "We are all Americans, and I am a woman of color, and everybody should call us people of color because that's what we are." And she was born here. She grew up here. You know, she experienced the Hoosier Slide, which is the big sand dune that used to be here before they carted it away in the 1920s.
They took it for Chicago, I think.
A lot of it went to the ball jar factory and Kokomo. If you see any stained glass windows around here with a big yellow cast, that's probably the old Hoosier Slide. And she was here when the first railroad came in about 1852, I think.
So why do we care about Naomi Anderson aside from the fact that she sounds pretty unique?
She became a famous suffragist, not suffragette, because suffragette was a pejorative term that men called these ladies who wanted to vote.
Okay.
So, yeah. And she grew up and she was so resilient. I mean, they wouldn't let her go to school here at first because she was a child of color. So her mother homeschooled her. She learned how to write, and that's like her superpower. She learned to do poetry, essays, just, regular writing, and she was always really good with causes. And she was very religious, I think, too. Her family belonged to the First Congregational Church when they first moved here, which was the Underground Railroad Church. And being a free black family, I'm pretty sure that her mom and her dad knew that all people should be free and there should be no slavery. This was right before the Civil War, of course. And I think word got around town about what a brilliant writer this young child was, and they said, she has to go to school. Let her into public school. She'll be a good influence on all the other kids. And she was, and even in later interviews with her, she talks about how the other kids all wanted to hear her poetry and her essays. She kind of spoke for temperance, not drinking, because that was very close with the women's rights movement. In those days, there was no AA, there were no medicines, there was no treatment for alcoholism, so the women figured it out, just don't let anybody drink. So that one kind of happened too in the 1920s. Didn't work out, but women's votes did work out, so I'm really glad about that. And as everybody knows, history gets told by the powerful. And a lot of people of color have been lost, which is why in many cases, why we have a lot of people honored during Black History Month.
So how did we discover Naomi?
We didn't rediscover Naomi until 2020. The League of Women Voters in Michigan City, League of Women Voters, LaPorte County, actually, our president discovered her on a jigsaw puzzle of all things. I know, isn't that crazy? Here we have a jigsaw puzzle of about 50 suffragists, and it fell into Bonnie Schaff's hands. And Bonnie was like, "What?
Who is this?"
Oh, Bonnie's local.
No, I mean, she said.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Who is this?
Yeah, right. She did. We have a suffragist from Michigan City. So she started researching. Bill Hellier from the Historical Society helped out. He researched. We have a genealogist, Pam Thompson, who's helped us to find out like where people came from. It's amazing. And Joe Coates over at Purdue Northwest at the archives helped. It's just everybody started coming together. And so Bonnie gave the league a program about this over in Barker Mansion. And I think it was during the pandemic, and we were all masked up, except to eat and stuff like that. So it just kind of snowballed. And before we knew it, we had funding to get the sculpture. Bernard Williams is a local
and the sculpture
artist.
is now?
Yeah, it's now on kind of about Fifth Avenue and Michigan Boulevard, or Fifth Street, kind of by Highway 12, just turn up Michigan Boulevard. It's at Charles Westcott Park. It's great. And there was a big dedication, a big community celebration, and I think they're called the Celebrating Naomi Anderson Committee or Project.
Right. And
they have done a massively wonderful job. They had an essay and art contest for children, all that good stuff. It's when you're celebrating somebody whose superpower is words and creativity, you have to do these things.
And there was a celebration, I hear.
You mean last night?
Yes.
Whoa, it was big. So through a series of very fortunate events, I could say, we got Holly Beatles, the art teacher, over at Pine Elementary School for the Fine Arts. It's a magnet school here in Michigan City. We got the third graders, their standards for social studies in that grade is local history.
Oh, perfect.
And it's an art school. And Holly works with these kids from kindergarten through 5th grade. And they know her well, and she knows them well. When I came to her and presented her with the project, she was like, Cheryl, I know exactly which pictures I want to give to exactly which children. It was amazing.
Oh, my goodness.
She's a genius. And then, so I said, well, by that time, I'd written a story at the behest of my friends. They said, they know I write children's picture books.
Right.
And they said, well, please write one for the kids of Michigan City about Naomi Anderson. So I wrote a manuscript. I am trying to get it published with like real publishers, but this is more of a self-publishing within a school district effort.
Right.
And the kids love Naomi Anderson. There's certain parts of her life that they really identify with. And she's very, very resilient. And they loved that part. So the showcase last night was not only a showcase for their artwork, it was a showcase for resilience and inspiration and habits of character. And the kids did marvelously. So they finished the illustrations for the book, and believe me, they learned a lot of history. We took them to the sculpture. We took them to the Indiana History Room. We worked with them one-on-one. We printed off pictures of old-timey Michigan City, like when Franklin Street was just an old plank road.
Oh, my goodness.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
The kids asked us questions that we never thought they wouldn't know, like, what's a buggy for horses and buggies?
What's a buggy?
They didn't know what a buggy was. Maybe a little bug. No. So they all learned a lot. And I was so grateful for Holly and some of the other teachers, because I'm not a lifelong resident. This is my chosen place to be. But they grew up here and their families have been here. So they knew about Pioneer Land and they knew more about the history. The kids learned a ton of local history. And we want all the kids in Michigan City to know things like this too. So through a generous grant from Rotary, we can give the book that third graders illustrated for third graders to every single one of the little artists. There's around 50.
Wow.
And I know. And also to every single third grade classroom in Michigan City. Also to every school library in Michigan City. So that should happen, we hope, before Naomi's birthday.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
This is very exciting.
So we love giving Michigan City kids somebody local to look up to. They very much identify with her. And it's just, she had a lot of struggles in her life. And they know about it. And now they know about overcoming.
That's right. How they know about how to be resilient.
Exactly. exactly.
That's wonderful.
So we can hope.
Well, I can hardly wait to see the book.
It should be close to March 1st. You'll
That's
get a
great.
copy. Don't worry.
So if someone wants to reach you to learn a little bit more about how to put a project like this together, for example, or
Oh, sure. I love mentoring people. It's one of my favorite things.
or maybe even to tell you, somebody might read the book eventually or want the book, or somebody might want to, as a result of doing their own research, tell you a little something more about Naomi.
We all want to learn as much as we can about Naomi.
How would they reach you?
Really, email is the best way. So CC Fritter, Fritter, like one apple fritter, okay, at yahoo.com. CC Fritter at yahoo.com. Just email me and I'll answer questions or give you ideas or share what else I'm doing, whatever.
This is fabulous.
Yeah, thank you.
This is such a great occasion.
It really is. We're all kind of exhausted after the showcase last night. But the artwork will be up at the Lubeznik, maybe next spring. I'm not sure when it gets put up.
And do you have any advice for somebody who is struggling or needs a project, can't quite figure out what to do something they really like in life?
Just keep at it and keep trying and give it a go.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I wanted to become a real artist, you know, like you.
Oh, I'm not sure, but I call
the
myself an
paintings.
artist of life.
Okay. Well, I want to be an artist of acrylics, I think.
Okay.
So I found an opportunity and I learned how to use acrylics, you know, and I mean, I've always been a writer. I'm just a writer to the bones.
Yes.
I was born a writer. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. Even before I could write, I needed to help out with the littler ones. And by telling them stories and writing them books, that's how I became, you know, it just was natural.
And you learned how to do it for that age person.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
Right. And surrounding myself with kids my whole entire life. I mean, it's always about kids.
It is.
They're the future.
They are.
And not everybody gets along with them. So I always took that talent for granted, but it's good. And it was really fun working with Holly's girls and boys. And I work with the Head Start kids, their book grandma. And they love book grandma, and I love them. And I've actually written a version of the Naomi Anderson story, not only for the 3rd grade to illustrate, but also for preschoolers.
Oh, awesome.
And I have another teacher over there, a just wonderful young man artist, mentoring him into his new job as an illustrator.
Good.
And it's kind of poetry and movement, but it's her life. And you know, I think we'll put the picture of the sculpture on the first page.
That's great.
Because even like the artist, all kids in town are going to pass this at one time and another. And they might as well know what it's about.
Right.
And I think it makes them happy to think, I'm from Michigan City. She was. She
Look
probably
what she
had
did.
look what she did. Look what I can do. I always try and get kids to not take their talents for granted. It's something we tend to do often, and we just can't. If you're good at something, run with it and strengthen it and make it even better. I think that's the best answer to your question.
I like that answer.
You know, if something's easy for you and you're good at it, just do it.
And that you love.
Well, the one I have a shirt. It's the cover of the Naomi Anderson book. And it says, it's Naomi's words. She said, if I can work for the cause that I love, I ask no greater happiness. Doesn't that just all say it?
Oh, it gives me goosebumps.
Oh, good. Naomi gives us all goosebumps. She was fabulous. She was one of us.
That's right.
You know?
Great.
Yeah. Woman to woman, one of us.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Creative from the Heart, the Artistry of Living. And soon we will see the Naomi Anderson book. Thank you.